There's queer people, there's Jewish people, there's Christians, there's white people, black people. There's everyone here. Everyone smiles at each other, walks around, chants out to each other. It can't be a hate march.
I'm a Muslim, but the majority of people here are non-Muslims. So between a Muslim and a non-Muslim, do you see any hate? Do you see kind of like, strife? We're here for peace, we're here for justice, we're here for ceasefire.
Now, obviously, Keir Starmer has refused to back a ceasefire in Gaza. What do you think of that?
It was, I think, 2 weeks ago, the United Nations wanted a ceasefire, and I think America vetoed it. I mean, what's the issue with the ceasefire? So food, electricity, water, medical aid can get to the people of need. Why would anybody be against that? That should be like the most simplest thing and the easiest thing to do.
Do you want to tell us why you're marching today?
Well, I've been involved in JFP and Jewish Voice for Labour, JVL, for years and years. And I'm Jewish, and, because I think it's very important for people to realise, and people are surprised, because still this stuff is getting put out on the radio and about the dangers to Jews. But on the contrary, I've had the most amazing reception on each march. People have been incredibly supportive, loving, respectful handshakes, embraces, gestures, etc., of support to us, smiles in the tube and so on. I mean, the very opposite.
So when the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, said that this is a hate march, what do you say to that?
Oh, where does one even begin to unpick that? I mean, as a propagator of hate herself, she's trying to stoke up division. People are marching for peace, not for hate. And I'm the daughter of Holocaust survivors. My mother was a survivor of Auschwitz, so I know quite a lot about anti-Semitism. And I'm standing here saying this is not the way to end the brutality of Hamas. You have to deal with the causes, not the effects.
And do you think that a humanitarian pause is enough?
No. It's got to be a ceasefire immediately. There's no alternative. And then the whole problems and the trying to find solutions begin. But unless you end the occupation, you'll never find a peaceful solution.
People smiling, people happy because we know we're doing the right thing. And beautiful vibes. I'm glad that the police have locked off the roads so that the far right people who actually are spreading hate can't get towards us. Because as you can see, we're just going along our route, not trying to cause any problems, and happy days.
And do you think there's any conflict between marching for peace of Palestine and Armistice Day?
Not at all. In fact, I'm a perfect advocate of the fact that you can coincidentally march for both, because both of my great grandfathers were in the World War, and I did the minute silence today, and I'm marching today for Palestine, with also holding them in my heart. And I've got a space in my heart for both. It's fine. It's perfectly fine to have that.
And when you hear Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer refusing to call for a ceasefire, what do you think of that?
I mean, it gets me it gets me emotional, it gets me upset, because I'm just like, just imagine. I mean, do they have children? Just imagine if it was their children. That's all you need to ask. Like there would be no question. They would call for it immediately. So it's just lack of empathy. It's inhumane. And these are not the people that should be leading countries. These are the people that are spreading hate. Yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
The Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, has framed this march as a hate march. Do you agree with that?
No, not at all. If anything, it's the complete opposite. Everyone is here because it's like an outpouring of love. There is absolutely no hatred here. None that I've seen anyway. And I think to frame something as something as in a march of hatred is basically just giving a green light for people who are actually hateful, who actually have violent tendencies to come and inflict violence. So actually what she's doing is putting everyone here in danger. Armistice Day is supposed to be about ceasefire. It is a day to remember the incredible, awful loss of life and violence. And so on Armistice Day, you march for peace, you march against violence. I don't see any conflict whatsoever.
It's worth paying respects to the heroes of the past. But this is a conversation I had with my brother earlier today, actually. He's up in Manchester. Is that it'd be interesting to speak to those heroes from the past and see what they thought about what's going on now. Of course, they put their lives on the line for what they thought was right. And it's that sort of mentality which I think we all need to have and just stand up for what is right. And that's what we're doing, we're just doing our little part. I wouldn't say there's so much a conflict. I think it's interesting that these things are happening at the same time. And hopefully it can just stay calm, stay peaceful, and everyone stays, focused on what's right. That's it really.
I've just come here today to show my support for the Palestinian people, to calls on for a ceasefire. Hopefully the ceasefire happens and people can carry on with their normal lives.
And when you hear the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, saying that this is a hate march, what do you say to that?
It breaks my heart, to be honest with you. I've been here for a couple of hours. I was here last Saturday. I've not seen one bit of hate at all. A little bit of shouting today from a couple of fellas with England flags that have maybe come for a different reason, but I've not heard anything negative, anything that's not positive. People are happy talking to each other, and it seems like a really good time.
And do you think there's any problem for marching for a ceasefire on Armistice Day?
I think it's the perfect time to march. Armistice Day was the day of a ceasefire. So my granddad, who died in the war, he died, and a ceasefire was called on Armistice Day for the cause. And today, the kids are still dying. If there was a ceasefire today, it'd be the perfect time to call it on.
And when our politicians are refusing to call for a ceasefire, what do you think of that?
I think it's disgusting. I don't think the politicians speak for the English people no more. I was born in South London. My mum, generations back, have all been brought up in South London, and no one agrees with what the government are saying. It's literally, they're saying one thing, and we think a complete opposite.
Oh, about 30 years ago, I worked as a nurse in Achley Arab Hospital in Palestine, and I've had a connection with the Palestinians, and particularly the Gazans, ever since then. And I've watched year after year as the Israelis have built up more and more settlements and changed the facts on the ground deliberately to stop any possibility of the two-state solution that was negotiated and signed when I was in Gaza City. And I think by any measure, what the Israelis are doing just now is a war crime, it's ethnic cleansing, and they are targeting hospitals and civilians in a way which is utterly horrific. And if it was happening anywhere else in the world, the whole world would be united against it. I think it's really important that people call for peace, that we recognise that what Hamas did on the 7th of October was an atrocity, that we call for a release of all the hostages without precondition, and that we demand a ceasefire and some serious talks between Israel and the Palestinians, with whatever mediation is available, to resolve the horrific underlying causes of this current flare-up. Because it's been 16 years of siege in Gaza, 56 years of partition and second-class rights for Palestinians who live in Israel, a complete blockade, effectively now, of the West Bank, and no democracy there in any way, shape or form under Israel, or indeed the Palestinian Authority, I think needs to be called into question here as well. So our voices need to be raised now to stop the slaughter, and that's why I'm here.